Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. And this is the moment you've all been waiting for, my big recap of 2024, my top 25 albums of 2024. This video I'm looking forward to making all year round, and I keep a running tally. You can see a bit of a spoiler here with these album covers if you recognize them. Let's jump right in. Of course, I'm a metal, rock, and prog focused channel. So a lot of the albums, well, all the albums are going to be in those genres, and there's a lot of prog metal. That's my favorite genre. So if you like that, definitely keep watching. All in all, 2024 was just an excellent year for new music. I listened to 433 new albums this year. So being in the top 25 is quite an accomplishment. And I checked out 37 subgenres of metal, rock, prog, punk, jazz, electronic, pop, and more. You can see this picture here that shows kind of my most listened to genres. So progressive rock was at the top with 108 albums. Progressive metal, I listened to 94 albums. And then a big drop off with metalcore. I heard 22 of them, post-hardcore 18, and it kind of goes from there. But let's jump into what the albums are. At number 25, I've got Triton Project with The Messenger's Quest. This is the debut album by this band from Thailand, and it's progressive metal, a little bit of jazz fusion and Latin influences in there as well. Check out the track Messenger's Quest for a preview. This album has three long prog epic tracks, one that's almost 14 minutes, another that's just over 20 minutes, and another just over 28 minutes. Definitely check this out if you're a fan of Dream Theater, Ice Age, and Terra Maze, because it's got that style of epic prog metal with all clean vocals, virtuosic musicianship, and just catchy vocals. And like the band Ice Age, their vocal sound kind of reminds me of Styx, the classic rock band Styx. They have really powerful vocals that are catchy. Definitely check it out. Triton Project, The Messenger's Quest. Number 24, I've got Almo with Reconciliation, another debut album. This is a one-man musical project from Sweden, and it's progressive metal as well. Check out the epic track Reconciliation for a preview of this. The first single I heard from this album, Reconciliation, was called Winterhound. That's also great. It's reminiscent of Between the Buried and Me. I heard that ahead of the album release. Then I listened to the full album. The first two tracks on the album are good, but they didn't grab me too much, and they made me think this might be kind of a typical one-man DIY prog metal album. But then when I heard the third track, Hope, it was a great track that surprised me in a good way when the flute part kicked in. And then Panic Attack was also great. And the title track, Reconciliation, is a 20-minute epic that is my favorite track on the album. It just blew my mind. It even has a Gentle Giant style a cappella syncopated vocal part. Uh, if you want the timestamp for that, that's at 7:14 of the song. I'm a sucker for that. And then I can really hear the influences in this album from bands like Haken, Devin Townsend, Between the Buried and Me. But if those are your influences, then I am interested, because those are some of my favorite bands of all time. This is a near masterpiece that any prog metal fan must hear now, and I'll be listening to anything that Almo puts out in the future. The title track here is actually my most listened to track on Spotify in 2024. So if that doesn't encourage you to check it out, I don't know what will. Check this out, Almo Reconciliation. At number 23, I have my favorite metalcore album of the year, Better Lovers with Highly Irresponsible. Another debut album. So I've got three debuts here in a row. And this is metalcore with mathcore, southern metal, post-hardcore, and hardcore punk influences. Check out the track A White Horse Covered in Blood, which is just such a great head-banging track that I really have to bob my head to every time the guitar goes like da na 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 na. Just like I don't know how they could just like play one note and it just sounds so awesome. Um, This band formed in 2023 after the dissolution of Every Time I Die. So they're often labeled a supergroup because it features members formerly of Every Time I Die and it features Greg Puciato from the Dillinger Escape Plan on vocals, as well as Will Putney from Fit for an Autopsy. If you're a fan of Every Time I Die, you'll definitely like this. It sounds the most like them. But of course, if you're a fan of Dillinger Escape Plan, you'll like this too. Because with Greg's involvement, it has a bit of their sound. Also, check out the track Drowning in a Burning World. That's a great one. And if you like headbanging and moshing, you have to hear this. It's got breakdowns, but they're not like deathcore style breakdowns about how low and slow your guitars can go while making animal noise screams over them. They're more like fun breakdowns, like hardcore punk bands would do without relying on low guitars and instead just having awesome riffs with interesting syncopated rhythms, dissonant panic chords, and some southern metal swagger and groove. At number 22, I've got Ioten with Kinship. This is the second album by this Danish band, and it's progressive metal. It's got melodic death metal, power metal, and black metal influences in here as well. Check out Kinship Elegiac. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, hopefully. And I also like their debut album, Access All Worlds from 2021. That was very good, but this one they stepped it up a notch. I should say all of these albums that I'm talking about today are in my near masterpiece tier, which is, or at least in my near masterpiece tier, which is the second highest tier rating I give. And the top two are of the year are what I consider masterpiece tier albums. If you follow my channel and I do album reviews or kind of review quick first impressions of what came out, that I'll often reference those tiers. Yeah, so this one's a near masterpiece. I think the singles that they release ahead of time are great. I Feel the Night and Iridescent Way. And the opening track is Kinship Elegiac. That's just amazing. And the rest of the album continues this amazingness. Check out Ioten Kinship. At number 21, I've got a great Canadian band with their second album. This is the Aphelion with Nascence. Check out the track Deserter for a preview. And of course, this is progressive metal, my favorite genre. And as a Canadian who loves prog metal, I always love to support and mention Canadian prog metal bands. The music here from the Aphelion is adventurous, sometimes beautiful and melodic, sometimes quite heavy. The vocals are powerful and wild. It's mostly clean singing, but there is the odd scream. Check this out if you're a fan of Native Construct, The Kindred, Azure, Loch Vostok, and The World is Quiet Here, which are all very melodic bands, but also heavy progressive metal bands where the vocalist really goes for it. It goes all out. Some of my favorite tracks are Deserter and The Seed of Doubt. And the vocals here are really impressive, but I can hear some imperfections and reasons why some people may not like them. So I could feel like they might be an acquired taste for a lot of people. And the guitar playing here is also great. But again, I hear some imperfections and human sloppiness, but I actually like that. It makes it sound like a real band is playing these songs live and it's not like all completely quantized into the grid and everything. The production isn't the most amazing for prog metal, but it's actually still a great listen. So check out the Aphelion Nascents. At number 20, I've got Blood Incantation with Absolute Elsewhere, the fourth album by this American band. It's progressive death metal with space rock, ambient, and progressive rock influences. Check out the track, The Stargate. That should say Stargate, not Starget. Tablet one. And this album's awesome. Lots of time signature changes between 4, 5, and 6 beats per bar. I even think I heard some examples of 9, but I haven't counted everything out yet. Also, lots of stylistic changes. That's really the name of the game here. Changing between intense death metal and soft atmospheric ambient synth parts. And I say for a quick tagline on this, it's like a combination of Shine On You Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd. They have some parts that have those kind of David Gilmour like guitars, and then meets Hammer Smash Face by Cannibal Corpse because they have some intense death metal parts that just go all out with their brutality. But they even have a track that features Tangerine Dream, which is cool. If that sounds good, check out Blood Incantation Absolute Elsewhere. At number 19, I've got Professor Caffeine and the Insecurities with their self-titled album. And this is a debut as well. This is post-hardcore with emo, progressive rock, indie rock, alternative, math rock, and power pop influences. My favorite track here is That's a Chunky. And they're an American band. If you're a fan of Thank You Scientist, Coheed and Cambria, Protest the Hero, Hail the Sun, Idola, Dance Gavin Dance, definitely check this out. It's like a mix of those. It's got the jazziness of Thank You Scientist, the emo style vocals that these bands have, but there's only clean vocals here, no harsh screaming. So they take that off the table. That might make it more accessible for people who don't like screaming, but they do still have the fast guitars and drums that all these bands have, but with really catchy pop rock hooks like what Coheed and Cambria can do. Check out Professor Caffeine and the Insecurities. At number 18, I've got Vicinity with their album Eight. Um, I don't know why it's called Eight. It's their third album. They're a Norwegian band and great progressive metal here. Check out the track The Singularity. They also remind me a bit of Terra Maze. And of course, it's hard to avoid comparison to Dream Theater. When you play this style of prog metal that has great metal riffs, instrumental virtuosity, guitar solos, and keyboard solos, you're undoubtedly going to get compared to Dream Theater. But yeah, The Singularity is a great song, probably my favorite song on here. Shape of Life is a softer song, but also great. This whole album is a near masterpiece from start to finish. Definitely something that every prog metal fan should hear. Check out 8 by Vicinity. At number 17, I've got Ancients with Beyond the Reach of the Sun. This is the third album by this Canadian band, so I love to represent another Canadian band here. It's progressive sludge metal with death metal influences. Check out Melt the Crown for a preview of this. If you're a fan of Mastodon and Opeth, you'll like this. It sounds like a mix of those two bands, and it's just really great. I ended up binging their previous two albums as well, right when I heard this, because it's just so good. I had to listen to everything that this band ever made. So Ancients has now entered my growing list of favorite bands. And yeah, the album's about an hour long, but they have on Spotify it's 75 minutes because they've got two re-recorded songs at the end plus a bonus track. And the bonus track here is a cover of the Alan Parsons Project Some Other Time, done in a prog metal style, which sounds really cool. I like both the original version of that song and this cover. Definitely check out Ancients Beyond the Reach of the Sun. At number 16, I've got Delta with Gemini, the seventh album by this band from Chile. It's progressive metal with djent, neoclassical, and symphonic metal influences. Um, I feel like I have the wrong preview song name on my slide here, copy paste error. Uh, my favorite song, I think that's from a different album. My favorite song on this album by Delta is actually the title track called Gemini. There's great female vocals on this album, both clean and harsh vocals, but mostly clean. And her clean vocals here remind me of Tatiana from Ginger and Avian from Wintersea, kind of those two great female vocalists mixed together, which is a really great sound. Check out Delta and Gemini. And my previous song here kind of gives a spoiler for what the next album is on my list, which is Luck Won't Save You with Through the Mountains of Melancholia, number 15. This is the third album by this American band. It's progressive metal, kind of progressive death metal. We got deathcore, metalcore, melodic death metal. All those influences in here. If you're a fan of the Faceless, Between the Buried and Me, the Human Abstract, Rivers of Nile, I think you'll like this. It's like a mix of that. Most of the vocals are harsh, screamed vocals, but they do have some clean male vocals from time to time, and even some occasional female clean vocals. The guitar playing and drumming here sounds great. It made me go back and check out all their earlier work. I I think this is their best album though, after I went back and I listened to all the stuff that they've done. But everything that this band has done is amazing. This is their best work, but I think people should check out their whole catalog because it's just really awesome. At number 14, I've got Turbulence with Binary Dream, another progressive metal album. Their third album, and they're a band from Lebanon. I don't know too many bands from Lebanon. This is probably a first for me, hearing a band from Lebanon, but this band's great. It's a near masterpiece. It's right up my alley. I went back and I listened to other stuff that they've done, and it's all great. Uh, the title track on this is awesome, prog epic. There's all clean vocals here too, so it's also, and the vocals are really well done. So I think it's an accessible one even for those fans who don't like harsh screaming vocals. But if you're a fan of Tesseract, I think you'll like this. It has a bit of that djent sound, but it's not totally reliant on djent. If you're a fan of Pain of Salvation, I think you'll like this. It's like a mix of Tesseract and Pain of Salvation, a little bit of Haken, Leprous, and Dream Theater in the mix here. So pretty classic sounding progressive metal band that just executes everything perfectly. Check out Turbulence with Binary Dream. At number 14, I have number 13, In Vain with Solemn. This is the fifth album by this band from Norway. This is progressive death metal. My favorite track here is Shadows Flap Their Black Wings. And this is a band I'm surprised I hadn't heard before 2024. They're right up my alley. I knew this would be placed high up on my list, even just from hearing the early release singles. This band, In Vain, they remind me of mid-era Opeth in their progressive death metal days, which I love. Uh, some of the harsh vocals here sound like black metal shrieks. Some of them sound like death growls. The clean vocals are catchy and anthemic, and they're fairly high pitched for a progressive death metal band. Uh, Definitely a cool album. Check out In Vain Solemn. Number 12, I got my favorite post-hardcore album of the year. It's Idola with Eviscerate, and it's their fifth album. They're an amazing American band, and they're actually going to be dropping their sixth very shortly here in January 2025, which I think must be some kind of like companion or follow on continuation of this concept, as the album art looks very similar. So it's going to be called Men. So I'm eagerly anticipating that release in January. It's coming up soon. And yeah, this is post-hardcore, but it's got those fast guitars, it's got progressive rock influences, it's got metal influence. I really love No Weapon Form Shall Prosper. And I love every album that Idola's made. I knew this was going to be good, and it's another near masterpiece. Lots of great clean singing, catchy vocal hooks, a bit of that emo style vocal here, but also great harsh vocals and breakdowns. Who of You Will Persevere is another great song. The breakdown and Fistful of Hornets is also really awesome and dissonant. If you're a fan of Protest the Hero, Hail the Sun, Dance Gavin Dance, you have to hear this. It's got those quick guitars and really nice post-hardcore stuff that I like. At number 11, I've got Relica with Secrets of the Future. Probably my favorite debut album of the year, which is a bit of a spoiler for an upcoming video that I have planned. I want to put my favorite debuts of the year all in the list. This is an Australian band. It's progressive metalcore, kind of has some gent, alternative metal, pop, even a little bit of hip hop and experimental influence because some of the vocal delivery goes almost like hip hop inspired by like new metal. And yeah, check out Killstar, The Cold World, one of my favorite, probably my favorite track on the album. Um, Great female vocals on this album. They're mostly clean. She sometimes does some harsh screams, but like I said, there's more so she's doing like almost hip hop rapping where other metalcore bands would do screams. Awesome guitar riffs here with some fast playing. It sounds a bit like Protest the Hero meets Intervals guitar playing. If you're a fan of genty prog metal bands with female vocals, fan of bands like Sordid Pink, previously called Destiny Potato, or a fan of Spirit Box or Red Handed Denial, it's like combining those bands with the sound of like Deftones, Tool, and Linkin Park, of course, because of the kind of almost rap vocal delivery style. At number 10, I've got Ubiquity with The Ascendant Travels Among the Stars. This is the second album by this Belgian band. Big thanks to Rhyme Signatures for putting this on my radar. He's another great YouTube channel that I follow for great prog metal and prog rock recommendations. Three of the four members of this band are also in the amazing band Omnirod. So if you're a fan of Omnirod, check this out. Or if you're a fan of Opeth, you have to hear this. Ubiquity, The Ascendant Travels Among the Stars, great progressive death metal from Belgium. So yeah, it's most like Opeth in their progressive death metal era. And there's another album coming up later by another great band that this reminds me of. Um, and this album ends with a 14-minute prog epic called In a Blink, which is also awesome. So the other band that's coming up very shortly in like two more picks is called Paya Mater. And it also reminds me of this as well. Let's jump into number 9, which is Tractor with Stasis, the second album by this band. Are they also from Belgium? Ubiquity and Tractor. That's what my notes say. I don't know if I did another copy and paste mistake here. This is progressive post metal. And if you're a fan of The Ocean and Hypnos, those are some other great bands that this remind me of. And like those bands, Tractor is also on Pelagic Records, a great record label that The Ocean and Hypnos are on. The title track Stasis is one of my favorites on this album, but I also really enjoy the closing track, The Reckoning. Check out Stasis by Tractor, my number 9 album of 2024. At number 8, this is the one that I was mentioning, reminds me of Ubiquity. It reminds me of like mid-era Opeth as well. It's Paya Mater. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, hopefully, with Under the Shadow of a Foreign Sun. This is progressive black and death metal with doom metal and heavy metal influences. Check out the song Fallow Garden for a preview. This band's from Brazil, and this is their third album. Their riffs sound evil, like early and mid-career Opeth. There's a lot of intense growls, but also some great clean singing, a lot of heavy distorted riffs, but also some nice, clean, jazzy and folky passages. Fallow Garden and Infringes were the two tracks I listened to ahead of the album release, and they got me really excited to check out this album. And the whole album continues the excellence displayed on those songs. Another near masterpiece here. At number 7, I've got Oregon with Pleroma. This is progressive, technical, blackened death metal with folk and jazz influences. And this one's really an adventure to listen to. check out the track Trawling the Depths, which is a almost 18-minute prog epic song. This is the third album by this American band, and this one's hard to find on Spotify. When I last checked, only three of the songs are on Spotify. Um, but I found the full album on YouTube. So that's where I listened to it if you do want to hear this. But also you could buy it from the band on Bandcamp. They have three tracks there available for free, but you need to pay to get the other three tracks. I think there's only six tracks on here. If you like Nay, Obliviscaris, and Opeth, but you want to hear a band take it even further and go even more all over the place, take more risks, this is a great band to check out. That's Oregon with Pleroma at number 7. At number 6, I've got Azure with Fim, the third album by this band from the UK, progressive metal with power metal, art rock, classical jazz, and pop rock influences. Check out the track The Asdinus slash Den of Dawns. This is something that I was immediately hooked to when I first listened to it. I don't know if everyone will get that same reaction, but I think if you're a fan of bands like Hymena and Native Construct, you'll like this, as they reminded me of them with their quirky but powerful, clean vocal delivery with technical perfection and lots of character. They have the odd harsh vocal here and there on the album for contrast, but it's very much more focused on clean vocals. And this is one that just made me immediately go back and check out their earlier albums, and they are very consistent. Like all their albums are near masterpieces. This new album, Fim, features a nearly 17-minute prog epic track as the second last track of the album called Trench of Nalu. Probably my favorite prog epic of the year. And that's another video that I'll have to make. What are my favorite prog epic tracks of the year? You can expect to see that one there. And number 5, I've got Loch Vostok with Opus Ferrex 2, Mark of the Beast. This is the ninth album of this Swedish band, and it's extreme progressive metal with groove metal, melodic death metal, power metal, heavy metal, and thrash metal influences. Check out the song Children of the Science or Children of Science. This is another band where I love every album they've made. I knew this would be excellent. If you're a fan of Pain of Salvation, check it out. It reminds me of like taking Pain of Salvation, but making it extreme metal, like bringing in harsh vocals, double kick drums, blast beats. Imagine adding those elements to Pain of Salvation, and that's what this sounds like. The clean vocals here are very powerful. They sometimes border on operatic sounding when he belts out the high notes. I know that vocal style is not for everyone, but I think the vocals here are great. And the album has some of that groove. It has melodic death. It has power metal, traditional heavy metal, even thrash. Check out the song Senses, which is another one of the best songs on the album after a couple listens. I just love it. Can't say enough good things about this Opus Ferrex 2, Mark of the Beast. I think the vocalist kind of steals the show here, but everything is executed to perfection. At number 4, I've got Isan with his self-titled album. It's the eighth album by Isan, the frontman of the classic Norwegian black metal band Emperor. And this is progressive cinematic black metal with classical and symphonic influences. Check out Blood Trails to Love, my favorite track on the album. He released two versions of this album. One's a progressive black metal version and one's an orchestral version. I prefer the progressive black metal version. It also kind of features the orchestral sounds in the background. So the orchestral version is kind of like a stripped down one where he takes out the metal and the vocals. But Isan here, he's just so unique and boundary pushing. I think if you like Emperor, of course, his band, you'll like this, as well as if you like Enslaved, who are also from Norway, you'll like this. Or if you like Xanthocroid, check this out. Blood Trails to Love has a catchy hook, and you'll hear quite a few catchy melodic hooks on the album in between the harsh black metal shrieks. If that sounds good to you, check it out. So many great tracks. Blood Trails to Love, Hubris, Blue Devils, At the Heart of All Things Broken. Check out all those tracks. Isan is just great. At number three, I've got Dune with Void Kind, the third album by this band from the UK, and it's progressive sludge metal with post metal and stoner doom metal influences. Check out the track Eleonora for a preview. I love every album Dune's made. If you're a fan of Mastodon, The Ocean, Cult of Luna, you'll have to hear this. Lots of the great riffs on here remind me of Mastodon, like the opening riff of Eleonora, possibly the best. But I love all the riffs on all the songs here. Reliquary is also awesome. Great time signature changes. Pleroma is also awesome and has the catchiest chorus on the album. And the album closer, Cobalt Sun Necropolis, is very epic and awesome. Check out Dune's Void Kind. At number two, here we go. We're entering the masterpiece tier now with these last two albums. Just masterpieces that I want to take with me for the rest of my life. I've ordered my physical copy of this, but it still hasn't arrived. We had like a postage strike, postal worker strike in Canada. Maybe that affected things. I'm not sure. It just got lost in transit. Hope to get it at some point. And this is Opeth's Last Will and Testament, the 14th album by this amazing Swedish band. And this is the return of their growling vocals. They had, was it 4 albums in a row of abandoning their death metal sound and just going full on prog rock. But now they're progressive death metal. They still have that prog rock and jazz fusion and acoustic influence in there. So it's kind of a mixture between their older and their newer sound. Check out the track Paragraph 1 for a preview. That's my favorite on the album still. But I like everything, and it's you kind of have to listen to this album from start to finish because it is a concept album. Um, Kind of like their album Still Life. My favorite era of Opeth is actually still the 1998 to 2008 era from My Arms Your Hearse to Watershed. But this is definitely a better album than My Arms Your Hearse. But I still really love like Ghost Reveries and Watershed, Blackwater Park, Still Life, um, and Deliverance. Like Opeth has so many masterpiece albums for me. They're just one of the best prog metal bands ever. And this is a concept album. You need to hear this from start to finish to truly understand how good it is. The story is set in post-World War I era. It tells the story of a wealthy conservative patriarch whose last will and testament reveals shocking family secrets. I have a full-length album review for this up on my channel. So check that out if you want to hear all my thoughts and where I go track by track, where I go through the lyrics and the story and everything. Definitely check that out if you're interested in this album. And at number one, another one that I've got a full length album review of on my channel. So go check that out if you want to hear all my thoughts on it. But it's Caligula's Horse with Charcoal Grace, the 6th album by this Australian band, amazing progressive metal. Check out the song Mute, probably my favorite song of the year. And another band where they just don't miss. I love everything they've ever done. All of their albums are masterpieces to me, and this is no exception. Ranking their discography would be hard because I just wanted to say everything is S tier. Uh, but yeah, the songs in here are great. Check out the Charcoal Grace Suite, which won't qualify for my best prog epics of 2024 because they broke it up into multiple tracks. But if they did combine all the Charcoal Grace sub tracks into one, it would be long enough to be a progressive rock, progressive metal prog epic track. but I don't really like when bands break up the tracks like that. But yeah, great track, Charcoal Grace, or great set of tracks, and then Storm Chaser's great, Mute is great. The vocal line at the beginning of Mute is awesome. The vocals on this album sound the best they've ever sounded for Caligula's Horse. Very stellar vocal performance. And of course, the guitars and drums are out of this world as usual, too. That reminds me of another set of videos that I need to make is like the best vocals, guitars, drums, bass, keyboards of the year. Um, Members of Caligula's Horse could probably feature in almost all of those videos in like the top five of the year in their respective instruments. Like they are all top-notch musicians in this band. So check out Charcoal Grace by Caligula's Horse, my favorite album of the year. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you found some good albums here to check out. And let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite albums of 2024? What are some albums that you think I'll like based on what you saw here in my video, that some albums that I didn't mention that you think I might like, because I'm always looking for great new stuff. And if you like a lot of the albums here, hit the like button on this video. That helps out my channel and will hopefully get the algorithm to push it to more people to see this and spread the love of this prog metal music, metalcore and post-hardcore and all that great stuff to more people. And if you really like it and you want to stay in the loop on the next videos that I plan to post that I kind of mentioned throughout this, like my favorite prog epics of 2024, my favorite debut albums of 2024, hit that subscribe button. That'll keep you in the loop on when I put up my next video. Peace out. Thanks for watching.